Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Sorry for the late. I was trying to get other people off of using the account.
Oh, okay.
What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
What's happening? What's good? Peace and blessings
All
to
of
my
the above.
brothers and sisters.
Good to see you.
So I like your background over there.
Do you have the background image? Do you have
Send the
virtual
background image to everybody.
I got it, but it for some reason it looks funny. It looks like it's
Oh, I saw that. I didn't know what that was though. Cool.
so
Okay.
so tell us what to do, Chris.
All right. Do you want to try to add it?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Hold
Okay.
on, let me virtual.
If you click next to the video icon to the right, it's an arrow. You'll select choose virtual background.
Oh, you did it.
Hello. How y'all doing?
You got it working.
Got it. I had to borrow a computer, but it worked.
Awesome.
What's going on,
Okay.
Jarrell? How you been?
Pastor CJ.
I'm good. How you
See
doing?
it, but
I'm good, bro.
I got to come up close. I see. Okay, I got to readjust.
Oh, so do I have to download the background first?
I think so.
Yes, download this to your desktop so you can access for easy access, and then you'll just click the arrow next to the stop video icon and say choose virtual background and just point to wherever it is on your computer.
Got you.
See, Sean just made it in. I see Alex, Richard, Corey.
See you now representing.
What's up, man?
How you doing, bro?
I'm good. Let me change my background.
Well, look, somebody sent it to me because for some reason I can't get it to download out of my email.
Okay, let's see. I think we might be able to. Can we drop files in the chat? Let's see.
Alex, I just made you a co-host.
I saw, and I'm going to start the.
So do you have the capability to share your screen? Like if you wanted to show those graphics?
So the challenge is I am not on my Census computer.
Oh, okay. So let me try with mine.
Yeah.
To see which one it is that you want to show.
Pastor CJ, when you move back, you disappear in your background.
When I move back?
You move back, so you're probably gonna sit.
Alex, is this the one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that better, bro?
He still looks pixelated, yeah. Like Chris's look all perfect. I'm not sure what he got going on over there.
Well, Chris is the IT guy. Of course, it's gonna look perfect.
Alex looks good. Jarrell's looks good too.
Well, you know what I had to do is I had to take all of my stuff off of Wi-Fi. I spent 2 hours trying to make sure that I have just the cleanest of connections. The kid is watching the DVD versus Netflix. Because you know what they do is they track our internet usage. And in doing that, that's why our stuff gets slowed down.
Okay, now who needed the virtual background again?
Your problem child.
Oh, mine saying
Lawrence.
use virtual background screen. Prepare screen behind you.
Oh no, did I click out of mine?
Mine is telling me I need a green screen. Let's see here. Click green screen. There we go.
There you are. You probably need to get against a wall. That entryway in the background behind you is causing some problems. So if you get against a wall,
okay,
it'll be a more solid background.
All right. Well, that didn't work.
I see you got the school set up now.
Yeah. Madison, man. You got a whole school set. Man, I'm gonna keep it right where I'm at.
guess.
Mine's not working, man.
Yeah, I can't get the. Did you send it,
Yeah.
Shannon?
You get it?
I'm sitting there right now.
Is it giving you an error,
Let me see.
Darnell?
Well, it's telling me I'm clicking the barbershop background. I mean,
Now
you see it now.
Now we see
you
you.
see it now. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why.
But you fading away.
Yeah.
I know.
Are you coming closer? Yeah. There you. We can see you now.
Okay, Lawrence, I just sent it to you.
Thank you.
Whatever though.
Like I just
It's
emailed
like you
you.
have to be closer
I have
to.
to be really close.
Close that door behind you.
Yeah, let me shut this.
Like the Matrix.
It's
There
crazy.
it is.
Let's see.
What are you running? Are you running Firefox? Are you running Chrome?
I have I am on actually Safari.
Okay.
Pastor, how about yourself? What are you on?
Chrome.
Okay.
Do I need to be on Chrome?
No, it just sometimes, use
Actually,
different.
I'm sorry. Microsoft Edge.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm within the. I just got to download it to my computer.
Let me see if I can just.
Well, let me tell you what. I'm telling you what I'm about to do. Cause y'all ain't finna have y'all ain't finna have me hot and bothered on Friday.
It's fine. It's fine. It's more important than so.
I'm trying to tell you.
Y'all crack me up.
Hey, welcome to the shop. That's what happens.
I haven't been in a barbershop in I don't know how long.
We're missing 6, right?
Who's on here? There's me, there's Alex, Chris, Dominic, Jarrell, Pastor Holloman, Darnell, Lawrence, Sean, Corey, Mr. Rose. Who are we missing?
Kenny's not here yet.
Oh,
Nah,
Mr. Braswell.
Ed is missing.
Said Ed Reed.
Oh yeah, Ed.
Mr.
Okay, I see Mr. Scott.
Okay.
He said Alex Acosta.
No, it's Micah
Who?
with Soul Food Cypher. He's not on here.
Yeah.
Aaron,
Darnell, I'm not sure what's up with your background, bro.
Aaron,
Me either, bro. I do not know. I'm trying to adjust my laptop, the camera. I don't know.
Darnell.
Yes. Let
Wow.
me hold on right quick, guys. Let me get out of here.
Oh, stupid ads.
All else fails, man. Get real close. That Morehouse was showing up real clear.
I know it was, bro. Man. What is going on? Sean,
Okay, there's Julian.
this is crazy. Wow.
It's all right, though, man. That's what we need. We need people to go to great lengths to participate in the 2020 census.
Oh.
Look at that background.
So I'm gonna leave the meeting and join again to see if that,
Okay.
So leave.
Just want to confirm everybody has their question, right? Everybody knows what am I asking?
Yes, I got it.
Yeah?
So,
Yeah. Right.
number 8, introductions.
Sir. I'll start with, Christopher Jones, and then once he's done, you guys just roll. Once the person in front of you is done, jump right on in, introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and why this is important to you. And then we'll go into the questions. And once we're done with the questions, then, you know, we'll have some conversation, I hope. And we'll open up to questions for those who may be watching, answer some of those, and have a good old time. Now, I'll be reading the textbook answer from the census on the question, because I cannot say anything otherwise. That's where you can come in and give, you know, your perspective based on your expertise, your community, your association, your affiliation, all that good stuff on, you know, how it affects our communities, our families, our children, all those good things.
Still starting at 6:30, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. I'm gonna take a break and go eat some snacks.
So just make sure you clean your face and whatever's in between your teeth.
You had all this time.
Hey, that goes for everybody out there, not just me.
It's game time.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is Jordan still the greatest?
Oh, he done started something. Now I gotta speak.
Welcome to the
Now I gotta
barbershop.
speak.
Right.
Top three.
No, what? Oh Lord.
I'm not from Chicago. I'm from the West Coast. And so, you know, my particular criteria is different because I have a sales and marketing background and I know what Nike does and what Gatorade does and what ESPN does. I know what I've seen. And so top three.
What you seen?
I saw a lot of highlights. I saw about what, 8 to 10 years before you could muster up to get to a championship, before you learn how to play the team game to win a championship. So, you know.
You must be a Lakers fan or something.
I used to be a sports fan. I no longer am because it's no longer what it was. So, but I am a Showtime era fan.
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it. I can hear it. I can hear it.
But you know, it's difficult to, you know, Wilt can't play against Dwight, and you know, Nate can't play against Stockton, and we're just prisoners of our own time. So
now you trying to philosophize it. I'm just asking you.
Ain't no philosophizing. See, the thing is,
Jordan is the man.
as it relates
he changed the game.
As it relates to playing in people's periods, man, LeBron James, I gotta understand, this man is 260 something pounds.
Yeah.
6'9", you know, what era what era don't that translate in? Like, LeBron's the greatest. Pound for pound, the greatest.
The softer league.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you, Pastor, if you could just say a prayer, man. You know, in about 5 minutes. You know, because I firmly believe that we're just vessels and conduits to do something greater than. And
duty bound. Duty bound. Duty bound.
So let me just weigh in on this basketball. Pound for pound, the greatest was Bill Russell, who was also 6'8", 6'9", 13 championships.
Speak. Speak.
13 NBA championships.
Playing against the staff at Cracker Barrel.
Actually, there were far less teams, so roster to roster, you could, you know, for that era, roster to roster, they were more talented from one end to the bench to the other.
Evolution. Evolving. I don't think we've seen the greatest yet.
Amen.
Guys, my background is not looking too good right now.
All good.
Yeah, on my background, I personally don't even see the option to add or what's the name, and I'm on my Mac, so.
Right. I have a MacBook Air, and I don't know.
Yeah,
what's
you have to download the picture and then go to the
Click
camera and do virtual background. Select the picture.
Mine
You
is
see
still
the
blurry.
camera background, the camera icon at the bottom left.
Camera out, camera
Look,
icon,
I'm doing the same thing.
camera icon, but I'm clicking it.
I feel like I'm in the Matrix, man. What's going on?
Oh.
Like, this is crazy.
All right.
See that thing right there? Stop video, drop down, choose your virtual background. You should have.
Share screen.
One more time.
Hold on. So get to that, stop video, bottom left.
Uh-huh.
Hit the drop down, choose virtual background. You need to go to your plus sign to add an image. Once you hit that plus sign, you're gonna go add image. It's gonna give you all these options. Go to your recents, right? And so it should be in your recents. And then you click on it, and it should show up as an option.
Okay.
Is it because I'm not logged in? Do you think?
Logged into what?
Share your screen, man.
Count or something like that. Because I still don't. Stop video.
All right, there's Micah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's not.
Hey, Darnell, you almost had it. You
I
did.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I have it. That's not the issue. It's blurry. It's like, you see?
You got to be behind something solid. Because I think you have a space behind you, so it's not going to flush across the back.
Oh, got it. All right, let's listen.
So this is Mr. Aaron Paxton Arnold, Mr. Ed Reed.
I'm on the call right now, man.
I had to resend a link to Aaron.
I got it. Right.
Okay, there he is. Okay.
Still my man.
How you doing? How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Chris, what's going on? Everybody.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, one thing that I'm going to say about today's event is that, you know, we want action. We want to activate. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of education out there. We're not the first town hall. We won't be the last town hall. We're not the first telecall. We won't be the last. I'm not the first partnership specialist talking about this. I won't be the last. We need activity. And so we're going to, you know, ask people to activate, to, you know, go into their mail and pick up the form that, you know, they have just left there sitting there. So
right. I know I filled out my census. I just did it online because I was like, it's so easy, so simple.
Right. Great. And I think Julian, you're on here, right?
So somebody was walking us through getting the barbershop background. I missed that. I saw it earlier. Can somebody help me with that?
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Go to your stop video on your bottom left.
Okay.
Hit the drop down.
Alex, don't you have to save you have to save the video. You have to save it first to your computer, right?
Correct.
Go download it.
You have to download the picture first.
Yeah.
Okay, download the picture.
Who is it that needs it?
This is John Armstrong.
Okay, let me see if I can resend it.
So yeah, once you download it.
Yeah, I had tried it earlier today. I saw the thing for virtual background, but there was another meeting going on, so I couldn't do it.
Oh, okay.
Let me just see if I can find the settings.
Yeah, try the settings too. And hit the virtual background.
I just sent it to you, Mr. Armstrong.
Hit the plus. Add image. And it's going to give you a bunch of options. And it should be in your recents or your downloads.
Okay, let's see here.
Mine is still not working. I mean, I have a solid background now. It's still not working, so.
Don't sweat it.
Yeah.
Don't sweat it.
Almost game time.
Yeah. Bring us in, Pastor.
Oh, there's Ed. Okay.
Okay, it just got to me. Let's see here.
If you all are, if you don't mind, let us have a quick word of prayer. Almighty God, creator of the universe, Almighty God, creator of heaven and earth, Almighty God, sustainer of all things, we thank you for this opportunity to come together and discuss the census of 2020. It's in your word that a census was taken, and it means that it's valuable. So we thank you for these brothers to come on this Zoom to talk about the value and the benefits and the importance of the census. Now be with us. Guide our tongues, guide our minds, guide our heart, that there be peace, joy, love, grace, empowerment, education in this experience. Thank you again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, well, I'm about to stop my video and I will hit the live button in a minute. Thank you all again so much. I couldn't have done none of this without any of y'all. And definitely Chris. Couldn't do any of this without you. You've been such a major help. So this is going to be yourself, and let's just have fun. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody real quick before we start.
Good day, everybody. My name is Alex Lehman. I'm a partnership specialist with the 2020 Census. It's a great honor that the Emerging 100 South Metro chapter in the wonderful city of East Point presents Shop Talk, Census 2020, How Black Men Get Their Fair Cut. Today, we have experts in their field who are going to share with you the importance and the value of participating in the 2020 Census. We're going to start off with some questions, have them an opportunity to give their viewpoints. We'll enter into some dialogue and just do what happens in a barbershop. Now, we're coming to you virtually, so do work with us just in case we have any technical difficulties. Towards the end of the event, we will open the floor for some questions, and hopefully we'll answer your questions that will help you better understand the value and the importance of the 2020 Census. If you haven't already participated in the 2020 Census, please go to my2020census.gov. You can call 1-844-330-2020. Or if you received a questionnaire in the mail, please fill it out and put it back in the mail. So without further ado, I'm going to allow the panelists to introduce themselves. I'm going to tell you who they are, what organization they represent, and why they believe the census is important in our communities. Christopher, take it away.
Greetings. I'm Christopher Jones, president of the Emerging 100 of South Metro Atlanta. We are the Young Professionals Auxiliary Group of the 100 Black Men of South Metro Atlanta Incorporated, which is headquartered in the city of East Point. And our purpose is to improve the quality of life for all African Americans in the areas of leadership, education, economic empowerment, health and wellness, and mentoring. We serve as mentors for the 100 Black Men of South Metro's signature Rites of Passage Academy for more than 60 high school males, and support the Collegiate 100 at the Clark Atlanta University, and work alongside our mentors of the 100 Black Men to uplift the community. These causes are important to us because we believe in the 100's motto, what they see is what they'll be. To learn more about the Emerging 100 of South Metro Atlanta, visit our website at 100southmetro.org and follow us on social media at E100 South Metro. Tonight's the first installment of our Shop Talk Barbershop discussion series, and we're excited to partner with the city of East Point and all of the community partners that you see represented before you right now. I hope that this discussion inspires, informs, and incites you to take action in your community wherever you may be watching from. Together, we can count the point, and we can't afford not to be counted. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Johnny Surrey, and currently I serve as the parliamentarian for the Emerging 100 of the South Metro Atlanta chapter. Outside of the South Metro Atlanta chapter, I currently work at Clark Atlanta University in the Office of Student Conduct. And outside of that, I am a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the College Park, Georgia alumni chapter.
Greetings, my name is Sean D'Angelo Walton. I am a activator and a developer in the city of Atlanta, also executive director of We Cycle Atlanta. I'm just excited to have this conversation with you guys and talk about, you know, how important the census is, and also to come from a real standpoint, because, you know, not everybody knows what it is and what it does. And I, for one, haven't been that person in general. So let's have some real talk.
Okay, not knowing if we're going in order or not. So my name is Kenneth Braswell. I am the CEO of Fathers Incorporated. We're based here in Atlanta. We provide capacity building and professional development for agencies working specifically with dads. We also provide direct service, and we have several programs on the ground here in Atlanta. Primarily our Real Dads Read program, where we're encouraging barbershops to engage our children in literacy. We now have 100 literacy units around Metro Atlanta. And we're also in partnership with the U.S. Census to engage Black dads in the census. And we're running a campaign now, both locally and nationally, called Black Dads Count.
I'll jump in because that'd be a perfect segue. I'm Lawrence Woven, the Program and Business Development Director for Fathers Incorporated. Get to work alongside Kenny in a lot of different places. But one of the biggest things that I enjoy most about my life is I'm a father of two. And so I'm gonna be able to speak today about the importance of the census and how it impacts the kids that are coming up behind me.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is John Armstrong. I am the CEO of 100 Black Men of America. Our organization consists of 103 chapters in the US, the Caribbean, and also England. Since our inception in 1963, the 100 Black Men has evolved to over 10,000 members worldwide. We serve over 125,000 youth annually through our programmatic focus of health, wellness, economic empowerment, education, and mentoring. The 100, as Chris mentioned earlier, our motto is what they see is what they'll be, but we also have another model that we're very strong on, and it's called Real Men Giving Real Time. And through our involvement with the census, we want to set an example of how real men give real time and set these examples for our mentees and the importance of this census and the impact it makes in these communities. Thank you for having us here today. We're very excited.
Good evening, Ed Reed here, Program Director at Faircount Inc. Faircount is based in Atlanta, but we also have a national reach as well. And our mission is to partner with hard to count communities on the 2020 census in Georgia, but also across the nation. In addition, we are also strengthening the pathways to further civic participation. One of our initiatives is Black Men Count, which we founded actually 1 year ago today. So it's fitting that we are with you this evening for this particular broadcast to celebrate that anniversary. But that initiative called Black Men Count, which you can find more information at blackmencount.org, is set to make sure that Black men are counted in the 2020 census. There's an estimated 67,000 Black men that could be missed in 2020, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so thank you to the city of East Point. Thank you to all the men on this call that will make sure that that number is not as high as 67,000. So thank you.
All right, I'll go ahead and jump in next. How you guys doing this evening? I am Micah Brown, representing Soul Food Cypher here in Atlanta, Georgia. Soul Food Cypher is a nonprofit organization, and we utilize the power of speech to transform the lives of individuals. So we do that through our different organizations, our community events, and different things like that. One of the things that I'm actually looking forward to here in this panel is actually more information. Just like I think it was Sean down there earlier, he was speaking, he was saying that this is not something that he has been used to. You know, as long as you guys have been used to it, I definitely haven't, you know, and and that's real. I mean, I can appreciate that too. And I can appreciate the fact that we're giving information, because at the same time I'm giving this information, I'm learning it as well. So I can help others learn about it too. So we appreciate the fact that we're here, and you know, hopefully we can do some good here today.
Hello, this is Dominic Maldonado from City of East Point, GIS coordinator and technical artist. I'm in charge of all the data and a lot of the analytics and behind the scenes action. I work with Shannon Wiggins, my coworker and colleague, and also the director of communications. Does my heart very warm and proud to see so many men of color here really engaged in their civic duty and helping to improve the community. I've had a chance to glean a lot of the data and information about the census, so I'm pretty well educated on the topic and have a lot to share. Look forward to having this discussion.
All right, I will jump in. My name is Darnell Shelton. I'm representing the Hugs Foundation Incorporated, based here in East Point, Georgia. Our mission is to cater to low-income communities to create a positive change. Also, I am an educator. Been an educator for about 8 years now. I am in the Clayton County School District. I am one of the student engagement specialists. So I'll be speaking from an educator standpoint. And again, like Sean stated, I'm fairly new to the census and hearing about it, because 10 years ago I was 21, so it wasn't pushed. Can you hear me? It wasn't pushed to my knowledge, but now I'm just excited to be on board and kind of, you know, share with the millennials, like, hey, it's really important that we are accounted for, so, you know, we can maximize the dollars. So, yeah.
I'll jump in. Hi, everybody. My name is Aaron Paxton Arnold from the South Side of Chicago, Florida A&M graduate. I always want to shout FAMU out. I'm a member of Omega Sci-Fi, so I see some brothers on here as well. I'm also a dad of a 2020 Westlake graduate, so kudos to all the men that are pushing, celebrating Black fatherhood. Professionally, I'm a former morning radio show host, as well as I contribute to various national media outlets from CNN to MSNBC to Black Enterprise on everything from entrepreneurship to social political issues. And I speak all over the country on some of the same topics, everywhere from Harvard to Capitol Hill. Civically, I sit on the Business Industrial Development Authority Board for the city of College Park. And, you know, this is extremely important because it's just about representation. And I live in a city where per the latest census numbers, is 75 to 78% African American. And I take pride in living in a city where we have so much representation. And so it's just important that not only locally that we're represented, but even nationally. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to the dialogue.
Hello, my name is Jarrell Bikes, co-owner of Royal Roots Barbershop located in East Point, Georgia. We've been there since 2003. We work with several of the organizations represented here, the Hugs Foundation, Fathers Inc., Black Dads Count, on several different initiatives and programs and events, just empowering the community, making sure we're disseminating information. It's important for me to be here because, as we know, the barbershop is a place, a hub in the community, a place where Black men gather. That's a place where a lot of information is disseminated, a place where a lot of lies are disseminated. So I'm just here to kind of get the facts straight, make sure we gather the correct information so that we can get the information out and let people understand why it's important to participate in the census. Thanks.
Hey, I'll go next. I'm Dr. Bill Scott, and I'm a retired educator, and where I've shaped minds and lives for over 30 years. I currently am a writer, and I do teacher training, as well as help teachers and educators with teaching leadership skills to children. I'm the immediate past president of Lambda Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated in East Point, the largest chapter of Sigma in the southern region. And I'm very interested in making sure that we get people involved in the census because it's important to the lives of all of us. So.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Corey Haynes here. I'm a Spring 2020 initiate of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated through the Omicron Phi Lambda chapter, seated in South Fulton, East Point. And we want to participate to make sure we are doing our due diligence to get out the word of the importance of the census. I sit on the social media committee for the chapter, as well as kind of an adjunct to the election committee as well. So it goes hand in hand with counting and getting the election across. And hopefully that we will get some great information across and be able to push it out to the community. Thanks a lot.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Julian Forrest. I also represent the Omicron Phi Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, which also serves the South Fulton and East Point area. I'm a rising second-year Masters of Public Administration student at Clark Atlanta University. And it's important to respond to the census because it helps with our mission and advocating for our communities and getting Black men counted. So I'm grateful to be on this panel tonight.
Well, good evening to everyone. My name is CJ Holloman. I am the senior pastor of New Grant Chapel AME Church right here in East Point, Georgia, where there's no point like East Point. I'm also a member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Spring 96, Mighty Alpha Gamma chapter of Savannah State, Root to the Bros, and all of those who are participating. The Census 2020 is so important from an economic standpoint, as well as a educational standpoint. And I look forward to the dialogue and just having some real talk with real brothers.
Amen.
I believe that's everybody. Yes. We have a large cross-section of men that are experienced, that are fathers, that have a lot of wisdom, and are going to share their viewpoint, their vantage point on why the census is important. We're going to jump right on in. We're going to ask the first question, which is, what is the decennial census? Now, I'm going to give you what I call the textbook answer, and I'm going to turn to a panelist and have them give it to you so that it's more tangible, so that it's easier to understand. Sometimes what's written doesn't necessarily make the most sense to us or to me. So again, what is the decennial census? Because you try to spell decennial, you'll probably get it wrong 10 out of 10 times, right? So every 10 years, the federal government conducts a population count of everyone in the United States. Data from the census provide the basis for distributing more than $675 billion. I'll go back, more than $675 billion in federal funds annually to communities across the country to support vital programs impacting housing, education, transportation, employment, healthcare, and public policy. They also are used to redraw boundaries in congressional and state legislative districts and accurately determine the number of congressional seats each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, it's a lot of big words. My brother Ed Reed, you've been doing this for a while. Please, what is a decennial census?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. We appreciate the background there. You know, so you're right, you know, it happens every 10 years. And, you know, we heard already in sort of introductions, the census is not one of those really sexy topics that we like to talk about on an everyday basis. We don't even like to bring it up every 10 years, much more, you know, in between that decade. So, you know, we like to think about it in three buckets, right? The financial piece, let's get our money for our communities. And so, you know, you're right. And looking at some of there's even a study out there that says it's like upwards of $1.5 trillion could be impacted for our communities, to states, towns, cities, counties across the entire country. Looking at it right here in Georgia, it's estimated that, you know, anywhere between $2,300 and some people say upwards of $3,600 per person could be lost if you're not counted in the census. So even if we look at it at $2,300 over the course of 10 years, that's $23,000 that we would lose per person for our communities if we're not counted in the census. That money's coming in for over more than 300 federal programs. So we're talking about, you know, healthcare related programs, education related, transportation, infrastructure. If you're riding down the street and you're complaining about potholes in your city, they maybe need additional funding for potholes, be counted in the census to ensure that we have a fair and accurate count and money is coming in. The second bucket I'll talk about is a little bit about economic development. We don't often think about the census being an economic development message, but it really is. You know, when businesses are looking to start a new business, or they're looking to relocate their business, they're looking at census data, population data, to drive their decision. They're not going to be looking to grow a business in an area where they see population is trending down. You know, so they want to have the best information possible. So it would do that community well to have a fair and accurate depiction of what's happening there, so that we can get those jobs and available to that community. And in the third bucket, which you talked a little bit about, is that political power. We talk about representation and fair representation, but if we're not counting in the census, we can't count on that. And so we have 435 congressional seats at the federal level. There are states based on the census count that lose congressional representation every 10 years. And there are states that pick up. Georgia is not slated, is estimated as probably will stay the same for 2020, but you know, some of our bordering states are slated to lose seats at the congressional level. And so when we talk about having our congressional members go to Congress to fight for our needs and fight for our communities, you know, if we're not fairly represented in DC, then we're not going to see those resources back here in our district. Even when we think about it from an electoral vote, we're in a presidential year here in 2020. You know, the amount of electoral votes are based on that process of reapportionment and the redrawing of those lines. And so that'll determine how many electoral votes we get at the federal level. So it really is a combination of things in terms of being counted and the importance of being counted every 10 years.
That's excellent. So just to paraphrase that into 2 words, money and power.
There you go.
Power, right? The decennial census is about money and power. Great. Well, now let's move into why is participating in the 2020 census important? We got a lot of men here who are going to give you a lot of information, and we're almost beseeching you to participate. So why is it so important? Again, textbook. Responding to the census is not only your civic duty, it also affects the amount of funding your community receives. how your community plans for the future, and your representation in government. Specifically, data from the 2020 census are used to ensure public services and funding for schools, hospitals, and fire departments, plan new homes and businesses and improvements in neighborhoods, determine how many seats your state is allocated in the House of Representatives. Now, you're going to start to hear some redundancy here, but I think it's very important that you understand those two paraphrased words, money and power, okay? So we're going to turn now to two of our panelists, Mr. Kenneth Braswell. Will you please share with us from your vantage point, why is participating in the 2020 census important?
So I think, first of all, it matters because our voice matters. We have to put a value on our voice, on our presence as who we are in our communities. I think that because we are speaking in the barbershop today, it gives me a little bit of liberty to say some things that I probably wouldn't say in my other official capacities, right? And so because we know who we're talking to. But it's also important for us to understand that we got a responsibility for our civic actions and engagement. And also being aware that there's some structural realities that was designed to limit our voices. And so it's critical for us not to allow those things to serve or motivate excuses for us not to show up. And I think that's what has happened to our voice over our time on this rock we call America, where there have been an intentionality about devaluing and diminishing our voices. So much so that in 1787, it was the political structure at that time put policy and laws in place to devalue our voices via the census. Like a lot of people don't connect the origin of the census with the 1787 3/5 compromise. We've always talked about that. We've heard about that in movies, 3/5 of a human. Well, that started with the power structure wanting to devalue us in a way so that the counting of slaves would not impact the allocation of both state representation and taxation. Because remember back then, we were a commodity, right? That had value to the slave owner. And so to reduce us in terms of who we are as a people was one thing, but the other thing was to reduce our value, right? And then everything else kind of piled up on top of that. And so, and I'm gonna close here, it's good to remember, and it's important for us to remember what we do when we allow excuses to stop us from engaging into civic activity. So if you think about what the 3/5 compromise was designed to do, that law is no longer in place, but the mentality is. And so if we continue not to lift our voices and engage civically, we're doing to ourselves what that compromise law was intended to do, and that is to devalue, underestimate, and undermine, particularly Black people in America.
Thank you. That reminds me of something that a senior partnership specialist says, and he says, we have not because we count not. Right? If we don't show up on paper, then we're not here. We're not present. And this is a once in a decade opportunity to take advantage to show up on paper and ensure that resources from the federal government come into our communities. So I think that's a great point. Mr. Aaron Paxton Arnold, from a development standpoint, sir, why is participating in the 2020 census important?
I mean, I think like somebody alluded to before, I mean, when it comes to funding, I hate the word minority because to me, it minimalizes our impact. But as far as this, the grants and the money that's readily made available for people of color, or and from a development vantage point, developers of color, there are a lot of programs out there that encourage us to be active and participate in that process. And so again, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, right? And so it's just so important. When I think about just Atlanta and Atlanta metro area, in particular the South Side, it was important when I decided where I was going to move. I wanted to live on the South Side, and how I figured that out initially was I looked at numbers. I looked at demographic data because I wanted to be around like-minded individuals that look like me, and that gave me pride. And so that's just very important and integral. And then, even as a parent, or even though my daughter's graduating, it was important as far as the neighborhoods I chose and the schools that I looked at and so forth. And all that to me falls under the development area, because there's it's like a what's the word, a well-oiled machine. So one thing affects another. And so I see it every day in our BIDA meetings. You know, when I look at even our BIDA board, like all of us are African-American. We finally have an African-American mayor. You know, like I said, right now, College Park is still predominantly African-American. And so there is some power in that if we are counted, right? If we are not counted, you know, regardless of what the numbers are, we lose influence, we lose power. So many people are coming to our communities because we are still predominantly African-American. We have a lot of developers of color that are coming and entrepreneurs that are coming to downtown College Park because of the numbers of African-Americans that are in College Park, from College Park to Old National. So this is extremely integral. And only analogy I can give is just like voting. You know, I know a lot of people don't like to vote, but voting is not, registering to vote is not just about voting. It's also about, you know, having a jury of your peers and so forth. And as we've seen, I mean, honestly, through the history of America, having a jury of our peers has always been lopsided and is more important now than it was even years ago. So.
Thank you for that. So we'll move to the next question, and that is, how will our communities benefit from participating in the 2020 census? We tell you what it is, we tell you why it's important to do it, but what does that mean for our communities? What does that mean for our children, our schools, our roads? And so for that, again, I will give you the response, which is the results of the 2020 census will help determine how hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funding flow into communities every year for the next decade. That funding shapes many different aspects of every community, no matter the size, no matter the location. Also, the census data helps communities respond to natural disasters and secure funding for hospitals and fire departments. Now, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but we all know what's happening with a health crisis and the importance of making sure that hospitals have the proper funding so that people who are not well can go to them. That's a part of census data, and that's why you need to go ahead and make sure you fill that out. So I'm going to go ahead and hand that one over to Pastor CJ. How does this affect our community?
Well, it affects us in many different ways, and I don't want to sound redundant, but it affects us as far as money and power, economic growth. It brings jobs. But when we start talking about young people, when we start talking about children, when we start talking about schools, of course, we're talking about health. But in the school, when we start thinking about post-coronavirus, where schools are now becoming virtual, many of our kids do not have the computers, do not have the laptops in order to be able to do the work that's being handed to them. So when you don't have the resources and you don't have the technology, you fall behind. And so with this Census 2020 will be the importance of us as Black men, Black, brown men of African descent. We need to fill out the census in a aggressive manner. We must be vigilant, really. So that's one of the benefits. It'll help our children catch up to the digital divide that's already out there.
That is correct. Our benefits, the benefits for our community are great. The most notable one that we will feel as fathers with children is education. And what I share with people is, if a classroom is filled with 40 students, but 20 of them weren't counted in the census, that's a problem.
That's right.
Now that school doesn't get all of the allocated funding it could get to ensure
that's
that
right.
the technological divide is made closer, to ensure that there's sufficient programs. The SLU is there, and I won't go into great detail because it's part of the next questions, but thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Let me hand that over now to Mr. Sean Walton. From your expertise, what does participating in the census, how does that affect our communities?
Yeah, and first and foremost, I appreciate being on this call. I appreciate the city of East Point. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Tri-City High School graduate. And so since we're talking about education, you know, I got to benefit from some of the finest facilities in performing arts. And I want to also say I'm spoiled. And a lot of us are spoiled too or whatnot. Like the brother Aaron said, you know, we get to benefit from being in the city of Atlanta, known as Black Mecca. We get to be from East Point, home of outcasts. You know what I'm saying? We get to be from these communities where Black voices have counted and Black people are counted. And we have that political power, and it does translate to us voting. It does translate in other areas of our lives, even the census. You know, but when Chris also, you know, hit me up about this panel, I can see how I've benefited from the census and, you know, keeping gyms like Charles A. Green open or Jefferson Gym open or Tri-Cities performing. Or I can see that, but you know, I can also see. One thing that you talked about is, you know, funding for the firehouse. We didn't talk about police or whatever the case may be, or funding for the police department and things of that nature. So I can see how the census has helped us in education and making sure that we have the proper facilities. But there's also some questions that I see as it relates to how does that census or that inkling of energy that I put into filling out this data, how can it help me in some of the things that I'm extremely passionate about? And it just overall, again, just brings us around to, yes, cities like Atlanta, cities like East Point, when we are counted, we can benefit from these communities, these institutions that can raise like these beautiful men that are in this conversation right now. You know what I'm saying? And also that inkling of energy is something that we have to put in our everyday lives. And I just want to make sure that we're reminded of that. To stay diligent as we fill out the census, and in our everyday lives to take time to be engaged in other political processes as well. Because like Aaron said, man, like those powers and numbers, whether it be the numbers in our populations or the numbers that we garner in data from the census, or the numbers that we gather at the poll, or the numbers that we gather in the streets to pick up trash, public service announcement, big GIMP, sick and tired of seeing it. All this trash on the ground. Don't shut me up. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, so all that to say is that us spending that inkling of energy, especially in the city of Atlanta, and it is our responsibility as spoiled brats, Black men in the city of Atlanta, to take it to Memphis, to take it to Detroit, or whatever, and spread this message even wild. So even if you are on this Facebook Live, man, share it to somebody in wherever it is against this Black diaspora, man, so we can get this message out on how we can influence our communities and do what we need to do by the numbers,
So census data impacts our lives daily. I don't know that people realize that, but infrastructure is something that is affected by census data. So road repair, bridge repair. Moving here to this region, I've never seen so many potholes in my life. For them all to be repaired. So please, everybody, fill out your census.
Thanks.
Well, let's move on to the next question. And, you know, this one's very important and very near and dear to all of us, but how does the census impact jobs and housing? You know, this is something that's vitally important in our communities. So businesses use population statistics to help decide where to add jobs or open new stores, offices, or other businesses in communities across the country. Census data also help determine whether adequate housing is affordable for residents and provide and fund housing assistance programs. They also help enforce laws, regulations, and policies designed to eliminate discrimination in private market housing, government programs, and in society. So, Mr. Johnny Armstrong, how does the census help out with jobs and housing?
You know, again, like the other guys, I'm excited to be here, and when I think about this question, it kind of makes me think about what's been entrenched in our minds, or from a very young age. I was born in 1971, and I remember as a 70s baby or young child growing up, watching shows like Good Times, watching shows like The Jeffersons, and you know, the theme song of The Jeffersons even talks about moving on up, you know, to the east side. And it's like it's been entrenched in our heads to move up in life, you must move out of your community, which is a bit scary at times, because, you know, you never saw the shows, or never saw the things that talked about the importance of staying in your community And sometimes by that mindset of moving up to move out, to move up, you must move out. I think it played a major role, and you felt like you had to move out because there was a lack of opportunities there as it relates to jobs, as it relates to proper housing, as it relates to good school districts. And these was all of the reasons why at times we felt like, okay, well, we got to get out of this community. So maybe the census isn't that important. Maybe the census isn't a reason for us to be counted. What have we seen with that? We've seen as some of these people have been counted, we've seen real estate go down, housing opportunities go down. But then in essence, we've also seen where the land prices went down, and big industry might have came in and put in lofts or these different things that people in the community are not able to afford it anymore. So when we look at the importance of the census and the importance on housing, that's why it's just so vitally important that we continue to do this. And then I also want to state that it's 10 years to correct this. You know, this is, I mean, when I say a bankruptcy takes 7 years to correct that, I mean, this is longer than a bankruptcy. So if we aren't doing the census, this is a 10-year correction process. And when you talk about building and housing and things of that nature, those things are done on, 15-year plans, 20-year plans. I know I'm a resident of the city of College Park, and I know they just changed the name of it. It was Airport City, yeah. But it was talking about a 40-year projection out. And so if you don't get in and jump in and do the census when you're supposed to, all those projects and plans are put in place, which could greatly impact people in those communities. And like I said, just to correct it, you could be looking at 10, 20 years down the road. And as you have housing opportunities, you'll see businesses come in, which will also bring in the jobs into those communities. So, that being said, that is vitally important why we need to fill out this census.
Very well said. I always say this is a once in a decade opportunity. There's a phenomenal quote, which is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Many people think that's Michael Jordan, but believe it or not, it's Wayne Gretzky. But it's true. If we don't take this once in a decade opportunity to show up on paper, it makes it very difficult for us for the next decade, but also makes it very difficult for the future and our children. Mr. Johnny Surrey, would you like to add to this?
So I will. Just being the youngest person on the call, 10 years ago, I was 17. So I had to do some research in reference to, exactly what was the census. Being in college and, watching the news, we saw different things about what the census is. But for me to actually be engaging, I had to say, okay, what is the census? What exactly is needed of us from the census? And so in my house, my grandfather and my grandmother, they have cups that says Census 2010. And so it was ironic. I saw that cup and I was like, okay, well, I'm about to talk about the census today. But as it relates to jobs, the Census Bureau, what I found from researching to better engage, the group and support the people who are watching, the Census Bureau uses the data to actually make competitive hiring and pay decisions based on the typical payrolls of similar businesses in the area. So essentially what I got from that is, by completing the census, sometimes we complain about not having or not making enough money because the job we work in that area. But if we complete the census, it allows for that area to have more people who are counted and for the pay to be competitive versus somewhere in our area, we have like a North Georgia and South Georgia. South Georgia typically doesn't get as many resources as North Georgia. Now, granted, part of that can play into the census, but then also part of that is just the social economic status of us from the people in North Georgia because we don't get the same opportunities as others. And just one, I guess, example that I found while researching, the state of Maryland, they were actually considering raising taxes on cigarettes. And so the state turned to the census statistics to decide, should we raise them or should we not raise them? And so essentially they decided not to raise them because it would affect the mom and pop shops who were selling cigarettes, and they were essentially closed because they raised the taxes. People wouldn't come and support those shops.
So data is key. I think we don't understand the value and the power in data. I use an analogy of the summer's coming. You go into your closet and you take an inventory of how many fresh, crisp, white sneakers you have for the summer. You're conducting a census of your wardrobe. You're going to see how many fresh white kicks you have for the summer. If you have 0, you're going to create a list. You're going to allocate money to go buy some. It's the same thing. You mentioned the northern part of Fulton getting a little bit more money than the southern part of Fulton. To give you a little bit of data, currently, some cities in North Fulton are trending in the 70th percentile in terms of response rate, self-response rate. That means that on their own, they have gone, pulled their form that they received in the mail, logged in or called, and they've self-responded. Currently, in the city of East Point, we're a hair underneath 46%, and our neighbors next door to us in College Park are about 38%. So again, if we don't show up on paper, we're not there, right? We're not there. So it's very important that we understand, those of you watching, those of you that are going to encourage others to participate, we have to show up on paper. So let's continue. How does participating in the 2020 census affect our children's future and their education? Forgive me. Mr. Lawrence Wilbon, if you would please respond to that.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me again. It's interesting, Alex, you start off talking about that when you don't fill out the census, well, the census is about money and power. But what's even more saddening to me is that when you don't take the census, it affects the children of those individuals that are not participating in the census. So I always think about it like this. Money will go into a community as you take the census to help build up schools, infrastructure. You talk about, I think Pastor CJ talked about the technology, the infrastructure there. When schools and areas don't have the amount of representation, money is reallocated in different areas. And now I know we're all here to be all politically correct. There are some communities that are hoping that certain communities don't take the census, so more money can be allocated to their communities. And so I think it's important for everyone that's on here to take responsibility. Alex talked about how quick to fill out the form is. It does not take any longer than 7 minutes to go in and get counted. And so it was interesting to hear some of the brothers on here talk about 10 years ago, they were 17. And I was thinking, wow, I'm old. But what's interesting though is that the census was not taught in my household either. And I think the reason why North Fulton has such a high record of individuals taking the census is because people are being educated. And I think opportunities like this is educate more folks to understand why it's important for them to participate. So again, I thank y'all for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Darnell Shelton, would you like to add to that?
Okay, good evening again, gentlemen. I guess when I think about the census now, I can only reflect on my upbringing because I grew up in East Point, Georgia. I went to Collin Hills Elementary, Pauley West Middle, Tri-Cities High School, off to Morehouse College, and off to receive my master's as well at Belhaven University. So I just think about how, Morehouse and all that good stuff. So I just think about how productive I was because we had gyms like Charles A. Green, like Sean mentioned. We had Jefferson Gym and Sumner Gym, but two of our gyms are no longer in existence due to funding. So I realized that everything's about money. And also I realized when there's a lack of funds, there's a higher rate in homicide or there's a lot of tension in our community because there's no opportunity. Where's no money, if people are starving, what are they going to do? They typically are going to create a crime because they want to feed their families as well. So now from a more of an education standpoint, me being an educator in Clayton County School District, every school in the county receives free reduced lunch. We want to continue that. We want to keep that going. But if we do not have the funding, that will be cut. After school programs is so important, again, for kids to be productive outside of the building. And again, we lack resources in Clayton County. So again, I'm pushing the census to the T because we need the funding. We need our kids to be productive and engaged. And not just 8 hours out the day. We need them at least half of the day. I mean, literally majority of the day engaged with opportunity to, be a part of something else outside of the classroom. So we're going to continue to push from an education standpoint. And that's really it.
Thank you, sir. And I didn't forget to give you the textbook response, by the way. The 2020 census count impacts the federal funds that communities receive each year for programs and services that are critical for schools, students, and younger children, such as special education, Head Start, after-school programs, classroom technology, food assistance, including free and reduced price school lunches, maternal and child health programs. Now, all that is WIC, SNAP EBT. Again, free and reduced lunches. When children are out of school and they're still able to go to the high school and collect a meal, that's all affected through census data. So again, census data touches our lives daily. It's vitally important that we participate, and we encourage others to participate because it's our community, it's our children, it's our neighbors' children, it's our family. Let's move on to we talked about money. Let's talk about power. What impact does participating in the 2020 census have on political representation in our communities? Again, I'll give you the textbook, and that's the 2020 census. Ask questions that collect information necessary for redistricting. Redistricting is the redrawing of boundaries for the areas that are used to determine where people elect their representatives to the U.S. House of Representatives, state legislature, county or city council, school board, and so forth. Now I'm going to turn that question to Mr. Rose from the NAACP. Sir. Mr. Rose, are you with us? Okay. Mr. Dominic Maldonado, if you can tell us from a local standpoint, political representation, how does the census affect that?
Yes, thank you, Alex. And thank you to all the other gentlemen that were here earlier today. You made a lot of really, really good points and notes. I would like to elaborate very quickly on some of those too and how it all relates back to your local political jurisdiction and all of the powers that be, as they say. So you may recall sometimes when you're hearing a conversation and you may say, why can't we do this or why can't we go there? Why is this against the rules? Well, you know what they say. Well, they said it's against the rules. They said that now there's a fine. Who is this magical they? They are your local elected leaders and representatives. And you might say to yourself, I don't agree with that. That's fine. You might say, I didn't even elect that person. You probably didn't. But that person is going to be in charge of you anyway, because according to your census information, redistricting, which is also known as gerrymandering, is what happens when you don't say where you were. So if you don't do the census, it doesn't look like there's very many people in that particular bowl. Let's say we are just M&Ms or Skittles in a big bowl, all different colors. Now, if they say this bowl of candy only has 100 pieces in it, they can say, well, one person can be in charge of all these people. There's not that many people here. And a very few group of people, because of redistricting and gerrymandering, get to make up all the rules for the entire, what is actually the majority, but they're going to be counted as the minority because politics. Now, if everybody says, I want to be counted, they can't just redistrict around you anymore. Now, they have to create more districts so that everybody can have a more voluminous and appropriate voice in their Congress, in their Senate, and all levels of government. Because now there's 1,000 pieces of Skittles or M&Ms or all types of candies in that bowl. One person can't be in charge of that anymore. It's much too large. So now we get 2 or 3 new representatives at every level of government. And that's the difference, and that's what it makes at that level. And the type of political battles and challenges that they face, in addition to affordable housing, and to be counted is rentership and vacancy. So City of East Point, from my statistics that I was running here in GIS, has about 20% vacancy, which is a lot. That's 1 in every 5, which means if you look to your left, you look to your right, you look across the street, probably 2 of those houses are going to be vacant. That's not a good look. That's not something that's going to drive curb appeal. That certainly is not going to bring in the type of neighbors you want to see. And we mentioned that this is about money and power, and census is not traditionally a very sexy topic. Well, if you want sexy neighbors, you have to do the census, because they are only going to be at the very sexy venues that are only going to come if that place has the right infrastructure. They're not going to be in a place where power lines go down, water lines don't work, there's a bunch of potholes. That's way too many headaches for a local business to handle. They're not going to absorb that. They're just going to move to North Fulton. I know they are, because I go to North Fulton and I say, wow, look at all these beautiful, sexy people and all these nice businesses. You want that here? Bring it here. It only takes 10 minutes And that's if you have a house full of people. If it's just you, it's probably just going to be 5 minutes. And you might be thinking, I just don't have time for it. I'm so busy, you know, with the Rona and everything else going on. To put in perspective what a 5 minutes is, that is maybe one hip hop song or R&B song. So I'm just asking you to take one song out of all the songs you listen to all day. Meg Thee Stallion, Drake, Pusha T, Tyler the Creator, doesn't matter. My favorite lately has been, who is that? Oh yeah, Bad Bunny and J Balvin. You know, I'm a reggaeton kind of guy. I just took one of those songs while I was listening to it and did my census. And I said, I'm African American and I'm Hispanic. That is my right, and I was proud to say that. Because now look back through the data, I'll be able to say, yeah, I am that 1% in this all-white neighborhood. That was pretty cool. And my wife, I said, what about you? She's from Detroit. She said, I'm Irish. I was like, okay, you look 100% black to me, but you want to be Irish, be Irish. So I marked her as Irish and I submitted it. You want to be Latino, be Latino. Nobody's going to argue with this. If you want to be Asian, be Asian. Now's your time for you to reinvent yourself. Be that missing statistic you want to see. Reinvent yourself. And, improve your own community. This is all about bettering the scenery around you. A lot of times we ask ourselves, oh, I made that mistake. I wish I could go into the past and fix it. Now's your time here to be here in the present and fix it in the future. And you'll be thanking yourselves and all your neighbors that you did that. The city of East Point has 50% rentership. You know how difficult that is for local politics? 50%. And it's very difficult to get people that rent to really commit to the neighborhood, because the idea is they're transient. And for one reason or another, they're going to say, I won't be here very long. Why should I care? Why does this bother me? Well, you're going to be really, really upset when you move to that wherever place you get to and find out they didn't do the census either. Right. Because they didn't think they'd be there very long. So now other people are taking charge of your future, and you've just let yours slip right through your fingers. And maybe you do buy in East Point. You're going to be even more upset because you didn't do the census and you're back in the community. That is, that is not a front to back white. That's going to be a very messy situation. And you're going to be mad when those schools are not going to be properly funded. Meanwhile, in North Fulton, they get iPhones and tablets. You won't even have a textbook, and your kids are going to be struggling through Spanish class, through English class. And you'll be embarrassed when you go to the grocery store and they use words that are just not proper grammar. And they don't get into those schools. And they're not going to be offered those high-ranking military or otherwise types of positions because they just did not have access to the same resources, even though it's all technically a level playing field. So in the amount of time it takes some people to step into a store, get a scratch off, a swisher, swipe left and right, maybe 5 or 10 times, probably never going to connect with the person they need. But here is, we're talking NFL pro money on the line. How much have we lost, you might be asking? So City of East Point stands to gain in total $750 million thanks to the census. We have never had a full complete count in our entire city's history. So gauging from the roughly 30 to 40,000 population we've had in the past and the amount that we've left off, we had about 60%. We're looking at about $200 million that we've never seen in several decades. Meanwhile, North Fulton, city of Alpharetta, they are stressing. They are already in, I believe, the 70% already. And they are stressed out because they think that they might lose $20 million if they don't get it right. 20 mil. We have been making do with $200 million under. That's, imagine a credit card and somebody says, oh, I'm so deep in debt, I owe $20 on this credit card. And you're like, that's nothing, I owe $200. I'll keep compounding that. I owe $200 million. You're never gonna crawl out that hole, buddy. That's a deep hole. But now's our chance to get out of this. And that $200 million, that's gonna help all the local businesses. That's gonna improve your power lines. That's gonna be you taking pride in your own community. And it's just, again, easy money. And there's even a grant that even very quickly demonstrates this online about weatherizing your home. Energy.gov, you sign up, they'll do an assessment, and they'll provide free resources, tools, and have somebody come out and weatherize your home. That is a federally funded grant based on the census. But it only goes to the places that have the numbers. The money follows the numbers, and the businesses, the commerce, the blessings will follow the money. So it all begins with the number, because the only thing more powerful than almighty dollar sign is the number that is executed, right? $1, $9, $1 with a whole bunch of zeros and some commas. So that's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to make it very, very easy for us to come together. As you may know, there's a lot of local businesses and mixed use developments that are planned to at least happen. Hopefully it will, thanks to the offset of all the revenue and all the different things that have come because of COVID-19. But you might be familiar with Tyler Perry and his complex, Fort McPherson. They're set to redesign the other half of that. Additionally, East Point is working on a new downtown commons project. And someone else brought up Airport City in College Park, AKA 6 West. Then there's also Lee and White. If you ever been to the Lee and White Plaza, it's a whole bunch of breweries, restaurants, and gentrification happening on the Beltline in South Atlanta. These are 4 very large complexes making multi-millions of dollars, at least projected to for the ones that are not developed yet. All on the South Side, which is unique, right? South Side never got this much love. I think the biggest thing I've seen in the South Side is the East Point fireworks. And I think Big Crit came down here and did like a Madden game-a-thon at the Greenbrier Mall, which is another example of how bad numbers can get. So all 4 of those developments come up. Who do you think is going to move in there? You want a pawn shop? You want a bail bondsman? No, probably not. You want a Lego store? Right? You want a yoga studio? Yeah. You want a Gold's Gym? Of course you do. You want a daycare? You want a nice school? Yes. Yes, those are the things you want. Only by you saying, I'm here, count me, do you get credit. This is purely about attendance. Purely about attendance. This isn't the type of job that says you did a great job and you worked from home. I'm gonna give you some money. That's not what the census is. The census is, did you show up, yes or no? If you didn't, you don't get anything. If you did, then you do. It's just as simple as that. And the things we can do, even being under $200 million are, I say, pretty impressive. As we speak, I'm currently working with the East Point Department of Recreation, so Parks and Rec otherwise. And we are setting up a program to teach computer science, machine learning, 3D design, all types of art, fun and games, when it's going to be sponsored by Amazon. Yeah, the Amazon. Even though we're down $200 million, I can fast track a high schooler to get an Amazon certificate before they finish high school and get them into Georgia Tech Masters of Computer Science, because it's all offered online for free. I can do that even though I'm down $200 million. But if we don't get our numbers together, I can't promise that I can do better. But imagine if we had this money, these resources, what else I could do. If there were 5 of me, 10 of me, 100, a whole department, a whole city full of people like me. So with that in mind, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to the next person, but please, I really, really just wanna drive that point home. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, repost it, retweet it as much as you do everything else. Do the damn census.
Thanks.
Dominic, I'm going to paraphrase that. We need to come to our senses and complete the census. I mean, I guess it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
All the information that was just given, all the data that was just given, if we want better, we have to show up. Again, if the piece of paper is blank, nothing exists there, correct? Yeah. So I'm motivated to like redo the census after listening to Dominic. I want to ask one of our panelists, Mr. Julian, how easy was it to complete the census?
It was actually not that difficult, Alex. I had a lot of different ways that we could be able to respond. One of the ways was online. There's the phone call, it's via mail. But when I answered it was actually unique. I had a census representative come by my house and actually work with me, because apparently my home was chosen to be a American Housing Survey. So out of thousands of homes, what that is it's unique in that it means that my address was chosen from a scientifically selected sample of addresses from a list of all the residential addresses in the country. And the reason why the census only does a sample is because interviewing every address in the country would cost too much and it would take too long. But additionally, addresses from several metropolitan areas are randomly selected for participation to supplement the national sample. And because of my cooperation and the cooperations of others on that survey, the Census Bureau was able to provide information that will aid the government in planning to meet the housing needs of thousands of people in not only my community, but as well as nationwide. And definitely for that reason, I took pride in participating, because it helped me to provide a distinct service to our country.
It's fantastic, man. You basically had like hands-on service, right? You got like a full-on experience. So you can do it online. You can go to my2020census.gov. You can call 1-844-330-20. And it's really that simple. If you do receive a questionnaire in the mail, you can fill it out and send it back. Many people received a reminder postcard in the mail last week, and more people will be receiving reminder postcards the next week that's coming up. So we definitely want to remind you to participate in the 2020 census for all the reasons that thus far you've heard. Now, I'm thankful that Dominic went in, because this is the part in the program where we're really going to open it up and have that shop talk. So my last question, and I don't have an answer for it because it's up to the panelists, is how do we inform our community and activate the people in our community with regards to the 2020 census? So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Michael Brown.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you for all of the information. Like I said earlier, you guys, I mean, I appreciate it because I've been learning sitting here as well. So I'm going to give you guys an honest reply. Well, I mean, that's what we're here for, honesty. But I'm going to give you all an honest reply. So from Illinois, from Chicago, right? Just growing up, my mom stayed in a single family household. I seen my father and everything like that. So my father was in my life, mom and dad divorced. Eat your vegetables. You hear that all the time. I'm a guy. She's a woman raising a guy. You want to make sure that you treat these ladies right. Heard that. Go to school, get your education. Work hard, save money. Never had a conversation with my mother about the census. It's never been a topic, And it's not to say that my mom didn't think that was important. It's just, in those times, there's more pressing things on the table. My mom, she wasn't thinking about, the every 10-year census, every 20-year census, or what that does for the community. My mom was worried about every day, what's going to get us fed, how these lights going to stay on, you know what I'm saying? And so from that standpoint, it's like, in thinking about it, with your question, I feel like we have to start young and early. Just by being on this panel, it's something that, I want to instill in the lives of, my family, my daughters and everything like that. I feel like that's very important. You have to teach them young how important it is. Like I said, I didn't even know about half of these statistics and how the breakdowns go in the representation in the House of Representatives. Had no idea about that until I started doing research and until I realized how important it is. Another point that I want to drive home, when we go outside, what do we see in your community, right? I, for one, as a young African-American male, I get tired of driving down the street. What do you see? You may see like a liquor store. You may see a check cashing place. You see people throwing trash on the ground. You guys are keeping this community dirty. It's a beautiful place, beautiful people, but you want stuff to look nice. And then what do you say if you want to go to a mall, right? Say if you just got to go pick something up. I'm going to go downtown to Lenox Mall. You may have a mall 10 minutes away. That mall doesn't look that great, but you have to go somewhere nice, quote unquote, just to go get something nice. You want a Starbucks in your community, the different things that Dominic was saying as far as being in the community, as far as seeing those great things in the community, that all starts with this, It can be just something as simple as saying, hey, you guys, what do you see when you go outside? What do you want to represent? What do you want your neighborhood to look like? But most importantly, if you have children, where do you want them to grow up? Because I hear all the time, like I said, being, from a young man from Illinois, I want my family to stay in a nice community that has good schools. They look at the school ratings. They see what those schools got. Earlier, somebody was speaking. They said, this school gets iPads and this school gets tablets. But I stay in Clayton County, and it's like, well, sometimes it's hard for my children to even get those tablets. Luckily, we've been blessed enough to get like tablets and different things like that for them to work. But it's hard for them to get that, and sometimes the school doesn't even have the resources to even pull those things. Not realizing that all of these different things, even volunteering not volunteering, but filling out the census, it starts there. I really didn't have too much of an idea where that stuff comes from until I started doing more research for this. And so that has actually opened my eyes to this as well. That representation is everything. Being a young man from Chicago, like I can ask you guys, how many people's parents have actually talked to them about the census? And okay, so see, we got one. So see, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't know. Like I said, my mom, she was trying to feed us. That's what it was. My father was trying to feed us. This is something that we didn't know about, but didn't realize was so important, just as important as breathing where you stay at. That's so important. So I really feel like, driving that point home with people saying, hey, you can start with your community, but if you have children, think about your children. When you have children, the things that you have, it stops. That's on hold. You have to make sure that your family, your children are good first, and that's on where you stay at. You know, you want your place where you stay at. You want your children to be raised right, have a good education, and at least have the things around them that look beautiful, look nice, and say, hey, you guys can do these same things as well. It all starts with the census. So just that self-awareness of self, of your family, and, you know, teaching them young. You know, it's something that, like, I have a daughter. My youngest daughter is 5. I'm pretty sure I can sit down with her right now and say, hey, let me tell you about the census. She's not going to pay attention to me. But I can at least, you know, mention things, you know, and say, hey, you know, this is important. That is important. Break it down in small pieces. As they get older, instill that in them. And I think we'll be on the right track. But as far as now, as far as our generation, I honestly feel as if people just don't know or even care to know. You know, like one of the young men said earlier, they didn't know about the census. They didn't know about it. They just didn't know what all it did for the community. Heck, I didn't even know what all it did for the community. I found out more in this conversation in the hour that I knew the whole time about the census. You know, and it starts there. You can just say, hey, man, you want things to look better where you stay at? Fill out the census. It's not hard. And I'm pretty sure they would do it. It's just we don't know. And honestly, we don't have enough people that even care for us to know. I don't feel like, you know, like another brother coming up to me and say, hey, brother, do you understand what the census means? I've never had that before. Me personally, you guys may have, but I've never had that. Hey, brother, hey, sister, this is what this means for your community. That would have definitely sparked my interest. You know, some people just feel like people don't care. You know, if we have that connection, I really think that can go a long way as well.
Max Norton.
Yeah. So Alice, I want to kind of take another shot at this. So it's funny, like I filled out the census, I think back in December. I did it online. I did it while I was playing Madden. I probably had a little drink and I was on Instagram and I was on my computer at the same time. It only took me 7 minutes. I calculated that. And I'm still getting pieces and pieces and pieces and pieces of mail saying, do I know about the census? So I think overall that the word is out there. I'm kind of old school from the vantage point. I believe you have to get your house in order and be accountable for yourself. So I would probably wager that majority of my friends, majority of my peers who are so-called educated and informed probably still have not filled out the census themselves and maybe have no intention, just like some of us that do not vote, that are very much aware. And so I think it's just we have to hold ourselves accountable because I hear so, you know, we talk about the barbershop and, you know, when you're in the barbershop, there are a lot of brothers that are blaming the others for this. I think somebody talked about gerrymandering and things of that nature. And redistricting and so forth. But that only happens if we don't engage in the census and we don't vote and we don't register to vote and so forth. And we don't show up to city council meetings and we don't show up to BIDA meetings and we don't show up to PTA meetings and so forth. And so I just want to challenge people, especially anybody that's watching this, like be accountable for yourself. You know, before you go out and tell somebody that they should participate in the census, make sure you've done it yourself. Like I would not be on this panel right now if I had not done the census. And so, you know, we just kind of have to stop making excuses. I mean, man, what's the phrase? There was what was it where they said that the easiest way to hide something from a black man is in a book? Well, now we have Google, right? Now we have the internet. It's on your phone. Even if you got the Metro PCS or the trap phone, you can still Google and find out what the census is. And so, and to your point, I've had several brothers come up to me on the street asking me if I had done the census, and it's about being inquisitive and asking like, what is that? I was fortunate enough that I think I remember hearing about the census when I heard about voting in 4th grade. And it was just something I couldn't wait to do when I was 18 because it was just explained to me how important it was. And I think I had seen Roots that same year. So I just became a little aware, but I just feel like we have to hold ourselves as a community accountable because now all of a sudden East Point and the College Parks and the South Fulton area is hot. And all of a sudden, we're starting to see other people move in, which is okay. But then in a lot of those cases, that means that a lot of us get pushed out. And representation is important. And you have to, like, again, I moved to the South Side because I wanted to be represented. I wanted to walk out my door and see a variety and a diverse group of people that look like me and know that I could have influence and I could have power. And there are people in this city, there are people in this state that want to take that away. And so, you know, like, it's just no excuse. Anyway, that's just my point. I just wanted to say that.
Listen, I think it's very important for people to understand how easy, how quick. You said you were playing Madden.
With a drink.
And you know, like, it literally took you 7 minutes. And 7 minutes, you just changed the future for everybody in your city and south of the 20 freeway. So it takes less than 10 minutes to shape our future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about reaching out to others and teaching them, and then asking them to reach out to others. I have something I say, text 3 for your community. Find 3 people in your cell phone.
All right, that's enough.
Text 3 people. Just ask them, hey, did you do your census yet?
Absolutely.
2 people may not respond. 1 person may respond, and you can educate them and then have them reach out to 3 people. That's how we have to do this. This is like old school, right? Even though it's really easy. It's the easiest way to ever respond on the census. However, we still have to make those phone calls and give those nuggets of wisdom so that people understand the value and the importance of the census. I appreciate you guys, hanging with us, hanging tough. Jarrell, answer this one. You're the master barber. A lot of this is your realm. How do we talk to our people? How do we engage our people to, again, educate them, but to get action, to activate them?
I think you and Aaron both hit it on the head. It's about being accountable as an individual and making sure that your circles of influences are definitely aware of what you know about the census. Now that I've been preparing for this talk, I've been able to have a conversation with my daughters about the census, and she's 4. You see, she keeps jumping in the screen. She's excited about the census too, and it's going to impact her. And we have to make sure that we understand that if we don't fill this census out, in my household there's 4 people. So that's $9,200. No, $9,200 that we could be losing out on, or 92,000 over 10 years, right? So this, we just got to make sure that we're reaching out to the people that are in our circles. It's funny how this even came about. I've been doing some work with Kenneth organization, Fathers Incorporated, around the census, and we had an event at another barbershop where we did a panel discussion similar to this. Then a week later, I ran into you, Alex, at church, and I heard you overheard you talking with someone about organizing some things with the city of East Point. So, I kind of pulled you aside. For those of you who don't know, Alex's wife is one of my clients. So we already had that connection. So that's just how it comes full circle, how we make sure that our circles are aware of what we're doing, are informed about the importance of what's going on. Had that connection. So that's just how, right? So then we can, can reach out through social media as well, or wider circles. So, that's the gist of it, is to make sure we're being accountable ourselves and reaching out individually. And then we can take it to the next level, is where we're creating programs and events like the city of East Point has been doing, getting the celebrities involved. Kenneth is always very involved in this situation, in the census. So, it's about developing programs and being accountable, as individuals as well. And can continue to be creative, because, we had an event set up at our barbershop that we were going to do, and maybe back out there, that we were going to do, and COVID hit. So, the city got creative where we can continue to do these things and reach out and make sure that people are being aware how important it is to be involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, again, I think this is not a time to be shy. I think this is not a time to engage our neighbors and our brothers and have some meaningful dialogue. Like, all you're going to get is a no, or you're going to get a yes, or you're going to get an ugly look. But we definitively have to engage one another in order to ensure that we have the maximum amount of participation. Mm-hmm. Because, the money follows the count, not the need. Not the need. So we have Mr. Corey. Mr. Corey, do you want to share with us a concern that you shared with us last time?
Sure. So for those who weren't on last time, a question was posed to me from a family member where, if the government has the information that the census is now collecting, what is the point or what is the purpose of them providing this same information? Why isn't the government, whether federal or state or even local municipalities, why aren't they able to gather this data from existing sources where you work, you pay your taxes, where you go to school, your driver's license, social security number, et cetera? Why can't they use the data that already exists to do the things that the census does?
So I'm gonna allow somebody else to give you kind of an answer. I'm gonna tell you that there's something called Title 13, which prevents us from mishandling any personal information. I, as a Census Bureau employee, can be fined up to $250,000 and be placed in prison for 5 years for violating your personal information. So the security of the census data is our utmost importance to us. We want to make sure that whatever information you give to us, we don't make it public information. We don't share it with other agencies. It's something that the only thing that's ever announced is the overall number. So if East Point went from 33,000 2010 to 44,000, there's an uptick in 10,000. They'll do the math on numbers. But last time we talked, somebody had some good information. If you want to share that with our group.
Yes, hello, this is Dominic Maldonado here. So the question was, why can't the feds just grab the same information that they probably already have from their left pocket and put it in their right pocket and just leave you the hell alone? And as Alex Lima had mentioned, so they're not allowed to do that, not allowed to take money from your left pocket or information, which is just as valuable, and put it into the other pocket. Similarly, when you work at all the jobs that you may have throughout the calendar year, you still have to pay taxes, and within, at the next calendar year. Well, why should you have to pay taxes if they've been taxing you all along? Doesn't make sense, because there's too many inconsistencies that could occur, and a lot of things could have happened, and maybe you don't have to pay taxes. I know a lot of people at the top of the food chain magically don't have to pay taxes. So for us, it's just a matter of fidelity and quality control, quality assurance to say, yep, I was here. So a lot like going to school. Just because you registered for school, you paid money for school, somebody saw you at school, doesn't mean you were actually in class. As anybody who has a senior somewhere in high school, or probably will have a senior in high school, is going to find out, you drop the kid off, doesn't mean the kid's in class. This is your chance to say, yes, I was there and I was in class and I learned the lesson. That's what this is about. It's just a pure proof check for every single household. Now, it would be very convenient if they could do it another way, but the fact that they made it mobile, that's huge. That's amazing. This was never something available to us. So that right there makes it much simpler. And the fact that there's so many ways to do it, as they mentioned, by mail, by phone, by internet, that helps. And also, no one else can do the census except for you. It's completely voluntary. So I can't just say, Alex, you know me and my family, can you just do ours? Alex is going to say, well, I don't know all of you actually. And part two, you have to, call me as an official census person if you want me to do that. You have to do it. I can't just go sign everybody up in the neighborhood, because I'll just say East Point has 1 million population and we'll take all the money. So that's a bit of the roundabout answer, but that's why they cannot just share the information amongst themselves.
Thank you, Dom. I appreciate that. So we have some folks that have asked some questions, and we're going to pose that to the panelists. I think we've kind of answered a couple of them already, but we'll go in again. Is gentrification having an impact on communities like East Point and College Park in completing the census?
Dominic here again. So the question was, is gentrification impacting the census, or
is
it?
Gentrification having an impact on communities like East Point and College Park in completing the census?
Okay, cannot speak on behalf of College Park, so I'll let one of our local panelists do that. I am not aware of gentrification having any impact on people completing the census, particularly since all they need is Wi-Fi. They could even just swing by City Hall, even though it's technically closed. We have outdoor Wi-Fi. There's plenty of other local businesses that are still operating with lots of Wi-Fi. gentrification, some rich neighbor moves next door, does not stop me from doing what I need to do.
Right.
They don't get in my car, they don't pay my bills, they don't do anything for you. They just buy properties all around you, and then, you know, gentrification automatically will just happen. But no, that's not quite a one-to-one correlation. Anyone from College Park care to speak on their neighborhoods?
To mirror his question, I believe absolutely not. I mean, again, the city of College Park is still 75% African American. So, of course, it's becoming more diverse because of Airport City, aka 6 West, because of the airport and all the other things that are around it that are of interest to, you know, other ethnicities and so forth. But, you know, to his point, whether it's you put it in the mail or you're, you know, log on to Wi-Fi and fill it out like I did, it should have no impact whatsoever as far as how we're counted and how we're represented. So, and a lot of what's happening as far as when you think about gentrification on this side is a lot of African Americans are moving to the South Side, or when they move to Atlanta or Atlanta metro area are coming to the South Side to invest in the South Side, whether they're developers or citizens or buying houses and so forth. So again, I believe the answer is no, or it should not be that way.
So we have about 5 minutes left, and you know, I believe we've touched on this question. How do we get young people to complete the census? So it seems there seems to be a gap between 20 and 40. Most of them don't know about it. How do we make this happen?
I would like to chime in on that briefly because we're currently doing a project over here in my community where we're just posted up in front of a corner store, making sure people have fresh produce and things of that nature during COVID-19. And that experience has shown me that, one, we just got to show up to where the people are. You know, we speak about how things are not going back to normal and how there is a push for more connectedness electronically, reaching children, youth where they are, whether it be in a Google Classroom or on TikTok. I definitely think we have to visit those particular places where their attention is, but I also don't want to have us leave with the misnomer that young people are the only ones that are not getting the message as it relates to census, because I think it's a miseducation, like a lot of people that said. I mean, from not being spoke about in their home or you know, not being spoke about in their school. So how do we get young people, again, just meet them where they are? How do we get people who are just not informed? We meet them where they are. Go to your, yes, knock on the doors like the Jehovah's Witness, but also set up, where people are getting their Black and Miles too. Right. You know what I'm saying? Or getting their 40 ounces too. Right. You know what I'm saying? And also I wanted to say this one last thing or whatever. Gentrification. There's a lot of trauma associated with gentrification. And when it comes to trauma, you can forget to take a shower. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to not empathize for those people who may be gentrified and going through that trauma or that stress of being uprooted from their community and trying to resettle themselves or whatever. But again, it does go back to not only the accountability of ourselves, but again, the accountability of our community. God willing, while someone is experiencing that trauma, a warm friend comes and has a conversation about that stress and helps them move their sofa, but then, you know, give them a census link. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want us to not acknowledge that gentrification and the trauma associated with being displaced can affect some of the functions that you need to do for your community, but it is up to the community and ourselves to put that fire and desire back into being counted.
So one more answer, 2 minutes. Give it to us. Who's coming up?
I just want to say something real quick. Ask. Just as simple as that. Somebody was saying something earlier, and I didn't think about it when I was speaking. Ask, because I know that as, you know, a man, or maybe even as a Black man, which I just say me myself. Sometimes, you know, I can be prideful about some stuff. Do you know about this? Oh, yeah, I know about that, but I really don't know. You know what I'm saying? Just letting somebody know, hey, it's okay. You don't really know about it. Let me educate you, you know, because that's a lot of times that's where it starts. If I don't know something with me, if you know information like you guys have went over a lot of information that I didn't know, and I soaked that up like a sponge. You know, but I didn't have to ask in this case. But just asking, you can get to where you need to go. And it could be just an exchange like this and say, hey, I wasn't even aware that that was even something that was going on. I didn't know this is how this got over here. Let me go ahead and do the census. And that's probably like a lot of it, you know. That pride, sometimes we may have to come off of that. Just let them know, hey, it's okay. If you do know about it, I'm going to just tell you anyway. You know, some people don't like to admit that, but if you lead with that and say, hey, you may know about the census already, but let me give you a little bit of information, let you know about it and why you should do it. And that may be, you know, half of the battle right there.
Like that. Let's ask. Well, gentlemen, thank you so very much for taking time out of your day. We exhausted our 1 hour, went an hour and a half. This was a really good event. I want to thank everybody who made it on here. I want to encourage anyone who hasn't already participated in the 2020 census to go to my2020census.gov or call 1-844-330-2020. We have the power to shape our future. And we have not come this far to come this far. So please reach out to 3 people in your personal cell phone. Ask them, have they completed the census? I hope we get to do this again, gentlemen. God bless you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good one.